Well, a Western Sydney councillor has vowed to scrap the welcome to country and smoking ceremonies in his council if his party is re-elected this year. He says it no longer reflects the needs of the residents who voted a resounding no in the Voice referendum. Joining me now is Sky News contributors Gary Hardgrave and Jason Morrison. Jason, what a nice change. A leader who's actually saying, yep, look, we've said no to all this nonsense. We don't want it anymore. A couple of councils in South Australia have already done it. Maybe the message is finally getting through.
I don't think the message is even close to getting through. This bloke is being honest and upfront because he's running independently and he's not part of the party machinery. So he's decided to do really a point of difference, and his point of difference will get him swept to power. I'd be stunned if not, because people have had it with this, not because they've got a problem necessarily with Aboriginal people or Aboriginality or Australia's history, but they've got a fair dose of them with the tokenism. It's become the kind of good thanks, how are you response to everything. We say it so often now, it's just lost relevance. And I mean, I was at the cricket the other day and you get asked to stand for the national anthem, but before the national anthem, you get asked to stand for the welcome to country, as if it is, you know, something that requires stance for reverence. It's kind of got so far out of control in society, and I'm not surprised that he's looked at an opportunity here based on the pure statistics. The statistics tell you that people are jack of it.
Yeah. But you failed to mention there, Jason, that they now say, stand if you can for the national anthem.
That's right.
You know, you wouldn't want to offend someone who's got a gammy leg, would you? But, Gary, this is, you know, it takes someone to stand up and say, look, I'm not going to do this anymore, in order for others to be able to sort of take the cue and follow, right?
Well, I think so. And after this bloke wins as Mayor of Cumberland, I hope he runs for the position of the boss of Qantas, the boss of Wesfarmers, the boss of all of the companies that come off Wesfarmers. Because, frankly, so much of our life is wasted from all these people who want to signal the virtue of welcoming to our own country. Look, I take the lead off Warren Mundine, Jacinta Price. They're two terrific Australians who have proudly Aboriginal heritage. They see this as a divisive thing. And so should anybody with any common sense. But, of course, we have Clover Moore. We have that Mayor of Melbourne, whatever her name is. Look, I mean, whenever it is all said, and it is said a lot, this is not a way of bringing people together. It's a way of hiving people off. And what we have to do in Australia is have leaders and elect leaders who want to bring us all together. They don't ask us our culture, don't ask us our religion. They just say, are you Australian? You're part of the deal. Be who you are, be for Australia, and let's all get on with each other. That's pretty simple to my mind.
It's funny, it once used to be irrelevant about where you were from and what you're about and what your creed is and whatever else.
Used to be.
It was just, you know, you're part of it. If we could get the message to the ABC, the few times I tune in, the number of times I'm greeted to my country being broadcast from another country, because the thing they haven't got their head around yet is if they're coming out of Melbourne, it's kind of not really right to say g'day and welcome to this land, because the land I'm in, or the land that Gary's in, where Gary is, or for that matter you, mate, where you're in South Australia, it's a very different country. But they haven't got their head around that yet, because it's all about making sure people know what you're about. Yeah.
Oh, mate. And look, I'll admit I listen to Classic FM. I still call it Classic FM, not ABC Classic as they tried to change it to. But every time they have a piece of music that has either been composed or performed in Australia, they have to tell you the Aboriginal land on which it was performed. I mean, they're performing some Tchaikovsky. It's got absolutely nothing to do with Aboriginality, but they make sure they get it in. Now, Pope Francis, Gary, has called for a global ban on surrogacy. He said that the practice of carrying another person's child is deplorable. He said it's a grave violation of the dignity of the woman and child, and that a child is always a gift and never the basis of a commercial contract. Now, when he's talking about commercial surrogacy, which is illegal in every state in Australia, I totally agree. I don't know that a total ban on surrogacy, you know, if someone in your family or a friend offers to help you have a child, surely that should be okay.
Well, I'm not going to be the moral arbiter in all of this. I think there's a higher authority above even His Holiness the Pope, who might have more of a say in all of this based on Christian teaching and indeed Islam's teaching and the Jewish community. I mean, people of the book, like I guess us, understand that it's not really up for us to judge. But look, I think this whole thing is a dreadful slap across the chops for anybody going through a surrogacy at the moment. So you're right, the absolutism of a total ban, it might have worked in the 1820s, but I'm not sure it works in the 2020s. And I think His Holiness is equally searching for some relevance after going incredibly left and woke on everything else. I mean, he tells us, like the people from the United Nations, that the planet is boiling, that somehow or other the false god of climate change is more important than the real god he's meant to be the franchise owner of. I mean, I am just left. This guy is searching for relevance. I hope he toddles off into the sunset and sometime soon so we can get a sensible Pope back into the Vatican.
I agree with you 100%.
Can I just clear this up? He can't wander off into the sunset. He's got to drop dead. He's got to die. So, Gary, you just called for the Pope to...
You can retire. You can retire. It did happen. Benedictine retired. Pope Benedict retired.
Look, the hippie Pope...
Oh, dear. Oh, Gary.
And I can say this as a Catholic.
We'll get you in a bit of trouble here. It's okay. It's all entertainment for us, Gary. If you get in a bit of trouble, we'll still be here next week. But, you know, you could put a job up on Airtasker. Does someone else want to be the Pope? There's a woman in Sydney. She paid someone $280.
She can't be the Pope. She can't be the
Pope. She can't be the Pope. You're right. But she paid someone $280 to line up for a box of apparently famous pastries to buy them for her because she couldn't bear to stand in line. Apparently, this is a thing now, Jason. I mean, you've got to have more money than sense in order to spend $280 to get someone to line up for you. Is there anything you would pay $280, a mundane task, you would pay someone $280 to do?
Geez, you got me. A mundane task that I'd pay someone $280. There are plenty of mundane tasks I pay that too. They're mundane because I don't know how to do them. and the tradesmen and women of Australia enjoy the benefits of it. I worked for someone quite some years back who was sort of a major public Australian company who used to have his secretary sit on the phone all day in the days when before the internet, you used to be on the phone to make phone calls for buying tickets.
Outrageous.
She had to sit there for days and days to get tickets for his kids to go to concerts. And the kids never missed out. They always got great tickets and great seats. And you could thank the secretary for that. So I guess indirectly that someone was paying for that. Someone was. It might have been just the shareholders of the company, but, you know, yeah.
Dearie me. And look, just before we get to the break, we won't have time to discuss it, but I just can't get over this. Man in Oregon in the US, he found an iPhone that belonged to a passenger from that Alaska Airlines flight that had to make that emergency landing after the door flew off. He found the phone completely intact. I mean, Can you imagine? You drop your phone when you're on your way to the toilet and it breaks into a million pieces. And this thing, you can see it there, is 100% intact and fell out of the sky. Some people have all the luck, eh? Jason Morrison, Gary Hardgrave, thank you so much for joining me as always.
Okay.
It's always a great pleasure.